Hello everybody, and today we are here with another board game review. Today we'll be reviewing The Adventures of Robin Hood.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today we'll be telling you that why you should play The Adventures of Robin Hood, a game by Michael Menzel, which is for 2 to 4 players, a cooperative game which plays in around 60 minutes, published by Cosmos Games. Now, this is a narrative driven adventure exploration game which is going to have all its narrative campaign being read through a book, which is hardbound like a diary.
I absolutely love how this book looks. I want the book that looks like this.
So, let me, as I said, this is mostly an exploration game. Previously, Michael Menzel has done Legends of Andor, and those players who have played it, how the comparison works is that was also a big adventure game, but that was more gamery. This one is more narrative driven. And how we will show you is how this game is played, because that's going to be very simple. The main crust of this game is going to be through this book, which we cannot spoil much of all, because again these are narrative driven, and if we tell you what the mission is, what happens once you reach, then it's going to spoil the story. So we will try not to spoil anything at all. So this is going to be a pretty useless review. Right?
Yep.
Alright, let's see how the game plays. First of all, before the explanation of the overall game, let's understand a few of the mechanics. So Ishal, can you explain how a character moves around this board? Because there are no hexes, there are no grid, there is nothing there. So how does a character move?
As my father has just explained, there are no hexes, squares, or any such mechanic where you can just hop from one place to another. Instead, you have these specific figures. The way the mechanic works is that the character will start in a specific starting place and will have 3 figures to move with. One figure will be long, indicating that they run, and there will be 2 smaller figures. The way you use the figures is you make
They act like a template.
They act like a sort of template. So it'll look like a sort of animation template in which the character is visibly moving, but the movement is not actually there. You connect the pieces together to make a line to your destination, and once your pieces stop, or you have reached your desired destination, you can place your figure touching the last one and end your turn there, or end the first part of your turn.
So that's the maximum length of your run that you can do in one turn. That's the maximum a character, for example, Robin Hood, which is the green character, can run. All the characters have the same abilities. So whether you are playing with Robin Hood or Marion or Little John, it doesn't matter, at least for the run ability, Will Scarlet. So it doesn't matter for his abilities. The run capability of everyone is the same. They all come with the same template. You can run smaller than that, or you can run as maximum. If you take smaller turns, if you don't use your biggest one, then this is called, if you only use your smaller run templates to run, and then use your standing figure in the front and the at the end to indicate this is your start, this is your stop, then you will be saving strength. Ishal, what happens when we save strength?
When we save strength, you'll notice that we have a bag here that is filled with purple and later white cubes. The white cubes represent the strength that we save, which, as Baba explained, will be given every time we use this specific set.
And what are purple cubes?
Purple cubes are the enemy's cubes. They don't necessarily cause any damage to your character. However, when you are fighting a guard or defending yourself, they may cause you to lose.
Yeah. So if Ishal had saved her strength, that means in any future turn, she would be able to fight better. So one of the white cubes will go inside the bag.
It means there would be a better ratio of white to purple cubes.
So there is no dice mechanism in this game going to be. And that comes to our second mechanic of this game. And we are looking at these separate mechanics separately, and then we'll see how it coherently becomes one game. The second mechanic is, how do you fight? How do you overcome obstacles? So maybe there are guards somewhere and you have to fight them. You have been captured by a guard, you have to fight it. Then how do you fight?
Oh, you want me to explain?
Yes.
Why? Okay. So the way you fight is, the mechanic is pretty simple. You take the bag and you'd randomly pull out 3 cubes.
One by one.
One by one, without looking. If it's a purple cube, you keep going. However,
So purple means that you are unsuccessful. As we
So
said,
far.
purple is bad.
so far. However, once you draw a white cube, that means you are immediately freed and the guard is defeated.
So, and
And you'll note that if you draw the white cube as your second one, then immediately stop. Do not draw a third cube.
correct. So white is our success measure, and that's why we are trying to seed the bag with more and more white cubes, which goes in our favor. And that's how majority of the fights are going to be. So before even you engage in a fight, you can determine, okay, right now the probability of a white coming out from the bag is going to be low because we have not saved enough strength. We have been running around, we are out of our breath. Right now, there aren't enough white cues back in the bag, and we might lose the fight. So you might not want to engage with a guard. Sometimes it's not your choice. Sometimes you do get captured, and you have to do it. But again, when it's your choice, which will be majority of the cases, then do first save up your strength. Try to seed the bag with more white cubes. Try to go slowly, and then try to defeat the guards. But when we talk about going slowly, do remember there are some timers on the bad ending. Each of these missions are going to have these timers on a bad end, which are going to actually push you to get your objective complete in a certain amount of time. Otherwise,
You're gone.
you lose. Yes, so the enemies will attain their objective, whatever they were going to do. So for example, they were going to hang some poor innocent person, they will hang him, and you were never able to save him. There was some carriage you were supposed to loot in time, that carriage will go away, you never were able to do it, and that goes away. And that's why you have to get things done in time. So it's a balancing act. When do you run, when do you save strength, and try to do it in that way. So each character has to see which objective he might be close to. So maybe one character is trying to save up strength to give his strength or help other character, other player, and then he is the one completing that final objective by taking the final stride and then pulling out the white cube, which might give them the success. So these are the two main mechanisms of how you run around the board and then fight the guards. When you run around, be careful. There is a lot of beautiful artwork on this board. The common understanding of principles do apply. If
The common laws of physics. If you don't have that, then
yeah,
what,
so
why
if
are you
you
watching?
if you see a wall, you cannot just go through it. That's why it's a free form movement board. If there are trees, you cannot just pass through a trees. You have to go around and then walk through a proper pathway, and
You
then
cannot just dilly-dally
Yeah,
over the
so-
castle wall.
this cannot happen. There might be shadow areas, those can be used, but you cannot just walk through the forest areas. So at least we have talked about the two main mechanisms. Before we talk about other mechanism, now let me explain how the overall game works. Now, in Adventures of Robin Hood, every time you're going to start a mission, you're going to open the relative page. In the start, you will start with page number 1. As you complete a mission, it will tell you where to put the golden ribbon bookmark to that page for the next mission to go, and the next and the next. So slowly you will be progressing through this book, and you will exactly know when you're going to play the next game in this campaign. It is a campaign with multiple missions, so you will exactly know where to start. it is going to give you some instructions, it is going to give some backstory, and then an objective that this is what you have to do, this is where you start. In the game, how the turn order works is that within this bag, there are going to be multiple things. Not only are the cubes inside, but there are discs inside. You take out the disc, and that determines that whose turn it is going to be. If you pull out one of the discs of related to any of the players, so for example, if I take out the green color disc, which is of Robin Hood, then the Robin Hood turn comes. If I take out a yellow disc, which is related to, for example, my player, then it's going to be the turn for Maid Marian, which is my character going to be. But as you have seen that I took out the red disc, what does the red disc do? Red disc indicates that this is enemy's turn. Normally what enemies will do, the book is going to tell you in the start. The first two missions are mostly kind of tutorial missions. So they are going to teach you on, they're going to let you play round after round after round without going through a rule book. So you might get frustrated a little bit in the very first mission, especially that, okay, do we just keep reading and doing whatever it says? But actually that's the mechanism of a tutorial, so that you don't have to read the rule book, because you're reading the rules and you are playing at the same time directly from the first mission from within this one. But for reference, the rule book is still there, so you can always refer to it in case you have forgotten anything that was told to you in future missions. Because in the future missions, you will be just given a main objective and then it will say, okay, go. And that's it.
Shoo.
The adventure will begin. Now, if normally what's going to happen, I will not talk about first adventure. Normally, whenever a red disc, that is enemy's turn, come up, normally what's going to happen, first of all, there is a track for your fame or hope in the land. Because
It's called hope, not fame.
well, Michael Menzel made the similar kind of track in Andor, and that was called Hope. That's why sometimes I call it Hope. But anyway, in this one, in that one, it was called Fame. Here, it's called Hope, because in Nottingham, the sheriff is taking taxes from
It's
poor
a classical
people.
plot of Robin Hood. Taxes.
So
And
that's
tax
why hope is
evasion.
being lost. So first of all, whenever the guards spread around, hope gets lost. So based on number of players, you will be reducing the hope. If the hope reaches 0 at any time, then the timer reduces additionally. So the timer starts going faster and faster. How do you increase hope, Isha?
The way you increase hope is by killing guards. Because the people of this town love murder.
Well,
Just kidding. I mean, it makes sense.
yeah, by two ways. Well, the guard is the lower way, because
then
if
only-
there is less guards around, then people are more happy,
Yeah. They're more happy that they don't have to,
be bothered by guards.
that they can smuggle money around. Robin Hood's just smuggling the money for them.
But
The
what's the
next-
more important, better way of increasing hope?
The next better way of increasing hope is by defeating noblemen.
If you if you rob them, then you are actually taking their money. That money is going to be useful for the poor, and that increases the hope more.
It also helps you.
So sometimes you have to rob people just to increase the hope and distribute that money, and that's the way to actually keep your timer running so that you can complete the main objective of the game.
You're
So
terrible
that's
at
the
robbing
first thing.
people.
That's the first thing. Second thing that's going to also happen is that you are going to be pulling a seal from the bag, which you see up here. So there are going to be different seals that will be pulled from this bag. So all of these will be shuffled back and sent in the bag.
But this doesn't happen during like the first game.
Not first, but I'm saying normally this is what's going to happen.
In the later game, maybe third mission.
Well,
fourth.
after that, this is the common practice, because in the first mission, it will tell you what to do exactly instead of the seal.
Yeah.
So what these seals are going to have is on their backside, you will be placing the seal back here, and on the backside, it's going to tell you where the guards are going to immediately pop up. So they are moving around the board, and noblemen are moving around the board as well. And that comes to the interactive part of this board. This is actually a two-layered board and not a static board itself. Michael Menzel and his game Legends of Andor is notorious for having a lot of tokens. You had to play so many tokens. The game came with so many tokens which were even single time use. That amount of tokens exist here as well, but they are all hidden inside this single board. So Ishal, let's show the people how these work. Let's flip some cards. So once this comes, each and every place on this one has a small number, and these are actually double layered board. So the artwork comes out. You can actually flip it. So there is artwork underneath and there is artwork on the top as well. And you flip these tiles, which tiles it is saying up here, which is now going to indicate that there are now guards going to be available in these areas. Similarly, you will be opening all these guard oval tiles based upon the numbers given here. And in case you need an easy reference, on the back side of your book, there is going to be numbers given there as well. Plus, it's also going to tell you which noblemen may have appeared. And these are how the noblemen, which are people riding horses, rich people riding horses, they will appear as well. Once you have done the setup, that's it. That's what the seal does. Another thing that happens is later on during the game, not in the first few missions, is going to be that you will have purple disc come out. What the purple disc are going to do is it's going to add additional purple cubes in the bag based on number of players.
According to the number, right?
So it's going to add those in the bag as well. Plus, there is going to be in the later missions, very soon, going to be a character
When you complete the tutorial.
Called Guy of Gisborne. A lovely guy. He's
Truly
going to be
wonderful.
so after a few missions, the sheriff of Nottingham and Prince John, who is right now the leader, is going to be fed up with you, and that's why he assigns Guy of Gisborne to be assigned to capture you. And now this Guy of Gisborne is going to be a figure on the board, just like hero characters. This figure is going to be
round.
This character is going to be on the board, and whenever a purple disc comes out, he is going to start moving towards the closest player to him. Now, on the board, there are going to be some shadow areas as well. As long as a hero is within the shadow area of something, then the regular guards are unable to see that hood guy. But Guy of Gisborne has better eyesight, so he can still see players as long as irrespective that where they are, but he needs to catch them.
He needs
So
physically that.
the guards have the ability, they can capture from far away, but they need to be visible to the people. But
However,
Guy of Gisborne
needs to say, tag, you're it.
so he needs to touch them, and that's one of the things that's going to happen whenever purple does. So he is going to be another thing. So if you were standing here and your objective lies on the other side and Guy of Gisborne is here, it's going to be pretty hard. You might be running around in circles trying to take him away, or maybe one character is going to give sacrifice and take Guy of Gisborne after him, while another player tries to sneak around and goes inside as well. Another thing that will be unlocked is that you will get the ability of using bows and arrow and a whole variety of items that you will be able to use, which are going to enhance your abilities. And each character is going to get some special ability based on which character you control. So these arrows are going to become useful, and these arrows can be used to shoot people as well, shoot guards, nobody else.
Not noblemen.
Not
Or
nobleman.
Gisborne.
So as long as this arrow can touch a guard from where you stand, that shows the length of the arc of your attack, and you can kill guards as well. So these kind of things get unlocked. Plus, you will get white disc, which gives every player
A free
additional
turn.
turn. And then there is the last type of disc is going to be a gray disc, which is going to give a, any one player an extra turn, but you get to decide in each round who goes first. Once all the discs are out, that represents one round has finished. So all discs will be collected again and then thrown back in the bag, and we will continue doing that over and over again. In this way, you will be trying to move around the board. How do you interact? And we have talked about killing, but how do you interact and explore things? On this beautiful board, there are going to be places where there are going to be question marks with characters, with interactive things are going to be there. For example,
The main way you interact with them is that you touch the tile and then you open a page in the book that will give you whatever it does.
yeah. So for example, Ishal is right now at a mushroom space which has a question mark. So if a tile has a number but no question mark, then that means yes, this tile can be flipped over, but you don't know how to interact with it. But if it is a question mark, then that means you can interact with it. So if as long as she touched that tile, we'll be going to that selective page number 100, for example, in this case. Sometimes based upon which mission you are, it's going to give you a branching structure and tell you, because it might be the same item, but based upon which mission you are playing, you
There
will be
different
directed to a
outcomes.
different page, and different outcomes can come out that which what happens. So the same characters, for example, a woodcutter can interact with you differently based on how much story you have progressed with. So in the first, maybe he doesn't even know you, but later on you have become the renowned bandit and he's trying to help you or trying to get you captured. I don't know.
Or he's
That's
just
what
mad at
you
you.
have to find out. So that's how the interactions are going to work. So you have to touch those tiles and interact with them. So your turn is going to be move and then interact or shoot, and that's going to be your turn.
Side note, from the talk about the different outcomes, I also remembered there is a specific tile that depicts a shield with either a 1 or 2 on either side. This means that if you have failed the first mission, you can play the second one. However, things will be different.
Yeah. So let us come to that topic about replayability of this game. As Ishal has said, that if you fail on your first try and you are doing it a second time, you might think that things will be easy for you because now you exactly know, maybe you were supposed to find someone and you were asking everyone a question that where have you seen this X guy, and asking everyone that question, going to that narrative page, wasting a lot of time, and finally you find out but your timer ran out, for example. Now, when you are playing second time, you think, oh, I exactly know which guy to ask about that person. But this time, things are going to be different. Even your objective might be slightly different than before. So there is an element of replayability that you can replay it and things will be different a second time that you play. A third time, nothing. There are two possibilities for each mission that can be played. Now, once you have completed the whole game, then there is going to be a plus mode added, which is going to have on mission type 1, there will be additional things that do happen in the game, but that gets unlocked once you have completed the first mission. So overall the game structure is going to remain the same, but more difficult enemies are going to pop up and you are going to have different abilities unlocked as well. Now these flip tiles are going to become more interactive as well. Not just the guards, but even other different beautiful things can pop up. So for example, here carriages might come, or which are going towards the castle, or there might be prisoner transports going away from the castle. So even the board has three kind of states, which in different parts of the board can mean three part of states. One nothing, second flipped over, third with the tile removed. And even not only that, there are going to be things under the forest as well. And wherever you see some tiles, I'm not going to reveal too much, but at least know that there are a lot of sections on this board. Now, we have played the first campaign full, and still we were not able to explore each and everything, because even if you have played this game one time, as I showed you on the branching path, that there can be different other branching stories as well which can occur. So this book is a huge book which has a lot of interactive things, and some
We only
stories,
read like half of it.
well, more, slightly more than half, but these are going to actually, once you are, for example, at the last, second last and third last missions are entirely going to be different based upon the decisions that you do in the fourth last mission. So the whole mission even changes, and even those missions can have different two states of play plus the plus mode to play. So considering those combinations, yes, there is a lot of variety of missions that you can still play. But do note that once you have played all those combinations, maybe it will rule out. But I think you will have got enough value for your money once you have gone through all those missions if you have played through this campaign. Now, this is going to be a family weight board game. So if you're thinking about playing it with a heavy gaming group, then you're going to be disappointed, because again, the game mechanics mostly lie about it will give you an objective and you have to look at the artwork and then think, for this mission, who can help me out? The number of choices for those might be limited, and then the game mechanics for fighting are going to be simple. It's simple but yet effective for a narrative
And
driven game,
suspenseful.
and suspenseful,
Also,
because
never gives this guy the book. Never gives this guy the book. He will spit all over it.
well, they don't like my voiceovers. But anyway, so Ishal, what did you think about the game? What were your favorite things, and what thing do you think can be made better?
I honestly really, really liked nearly everything about it. The art style, the flipping over the tiles, and of course the figures. I tell them I was doing gymnastics.
That's
I
fine.
used to do gymnastics all the time with these.
So what did you not like about the game?
I feel like there could have been something done to improve the tiles because when you flip them, the paint on the corners will start to like chip off and it'll turn white, and that decreases the beauty.
Yeah, correct. So even though the game is made of beautiful components, the wooden bits are nice, because these middle figures which are used as a templates could have been just some sticks which are used for measurement, because you never leave these on the board, but they even put figures on them, customized figures of showing the character running
And it's like
at different paces.
it's actually different for the walking and running.
Correct. So at different paces, they have different figures. They didn't need to, but they put a lot of effort in these figures. But the quality of the cardboard used for the tiles which are flipped over is very thin. So if you actually flip them over a lot, or even a single time even, once that nail hits this cardboard, it's going to chip off its edges, and that isn't going to look pretty. So even though it's a dual layered board, I do wish they had made it slightly thicker, and the top tiles should have been slightly more thick than the bottom board itself.
Because that way you would just insert your finger, not your nail, and that way it would flip through.
That's my first flaw about the components of the game. The second flaw about the components of the game is that these characters slip on the board a lot. So if you see, even if by accident, because you're supposed to touch one figure with the other, but they move around even when I'm trying to touch. So I might be trying to find a way in between the artwork, and the figures behind it are slipping away. So one of the things that I did to actually fix that problem is that under my figures, I put a slight white tack, or you might have blue tack, doesn't matter. I love this kind of stuff, the white tack or blue tack. at least the standing figures I put on both sides, so that when you start they actually fit, and now at least they don't get pushed as much. This figure acts as a stopper and you don't mess around, so they stay in place. Even by accident they don't budge around. So these figures do have that problem that it's slightly more slippery than what's required.
And the slips will keep appearing, especially when you like making turns through forests. They will happen either way, but something could have been made.
So we already talked about replayability. So even though it comes with around 7 missions I think, but there are a variety of ways in which you can play them, and the first mission mostly acts as a tutorial, which I do think some people might be turned off after playing, because they will think, well, this isn't really a
There's
game.
10 missions.
So they might think this really isn't a game, but there is a good game in the later on missions. The writing might be simple, and the simple is effective because then everyone around the world can understand it. You don't need really proficient English speakers to understand the story itself.
You don't need a British man.
The game is interesting. You will have nail biting adventures. You will be just having at the last round, having
You
the
will be-
last disc to pulled out.
Honestly, I'm gonna be completely honest. You'll be more focused on finishing your adventure. You won't even notice about the time.
Yeah, so you will be worried that now if I pull out by mistake the wrong disc, this might be it. We will
It's
lose.
the end.
We will lose. So you will have those kind of nail biting adventures. There is a way that the game always tell to make it easy, but I will never recommend to go that way. Always play on the default difficulty mode, because then you will have more fun adventures. So
He
overall,
means that he wants us to lose.
I do want us to lose and see other stories. So overall, I think this is a fantastic narrative driven and very innovative ideas game. It kept things simple, no tokens on the board, very little setup required for it, and the game initial part lets you do the setup what's required for that particular mission itself. So if a particular tile needs to be flipped over for a particular mission, it will tell you at that time in the mission time. So while you're playing, you will be flipping those things over rather than having to find some tokens, which is a great innovative thing that they have thought over. So even though it might look like a gimmick, but it works, and it works well, these flipping of tiles within the board. Okay,
But this
so
is nice.
that's our review for Robin Hood, a good narrative adventure game. If you're looking for a fun narrative driven adventure game to play with your family as a co-op game, then we can easily recommend The Adventures of Robin Hood.